Well, let's talk about the results of the tournament. It was won by Henry Chow, who gets his second regionals win, not just of all time, but of this season. And
Yeah,
really since NAIC, like the past 9 months or so of the game, Henry is definitely like just one of the best players in the game right now, without a doubt.
yeah,
He
definitely.
is like kind of, tunneled on the one archetype, right? But there's like merits to that. He is the best Gardevoir player in the world, undoubtedly.
Yeah,
Um,
click on his name real fast.
it's Gardevoir, buddy.
Yeah.
They should just put a Gardevoir icon up here. Um, but yeah, I mean, he had some solid finishes in 2024 season, but like his breakout performance was
Yeah,
obviously his top 8 at New Orleans. And then since then, um, he's just been doing really well. And like all of these, like Louisville, it's like I think I'm remembering this correctly, but I'm pretty sure like Louisville, Sao Paulo, Toronto, maybe not Toronto, but I think Louisville and Sao Paulo at least he lost win and ends to top cut at those tournaments as well. So he
yeah,
was
he
like
was close.
right there, lost win and ends, ends up in top 64, which is kind of a bummer. Top 32 here. And then Toronto, I think he won up to top 16, but still obviously very strong tournament results. So yeah,
Yeah.
massive props to Henry.
Yeah, I'm really excited for. Yeah, it's really cool to see him succeed in this way, and especially like the way that he talks about the game and how much effort he puts in the game. I've like said this a lot. I'm excited for the future of the competition of the Pokemon TCG. I can't wait for the day where the only people in top 8 of a regional championship are people who put as much time and effort into the game as Henry seems to be putting in. I can't wait for the level of competition we get to at that point where the only people who you have to the only people who can make it that far are the people who put in the extra time and put in the extra effort, and it actually matters to that scale. So yeah, seeing his success like this, and I think his success is also um, a great a great thing for people to look at and realize that like the time and effort makes like a big difference, right? Henry is maybe the most successful player this season on top of everything else. Right? No
Mhm.
one else has won 2 majors. And he's been in contention for top cut at multiple other tournaments. So like, yeah, I mean the time and effort it pays off, right? Play Pokemon, playing Pokemon, playing a lot of Pokemon, getting comfortable and familiar with even a specific deck can make a big difference as well. So yeah, man, I think it's just like a good thing for a lot of just newer players in the game to look at Henry's success, and I think it shows like the potential of the level of competition the game could potentially get to. I mean, but you do still have great players like Alex Szymanski getting second, who said he played probably or like no games with his deck, and then still rolled up and got second. And I don't want Alex to not be able to succeed, but I think the game would be in a lot cooler space competition wise when you have to put in the extra effort.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Alex is
think
obviously a great player.
that I think it would be pretty tough just because of the size of the tournaments for us to get to the point and like the fact that it's an open playing field as well, right? Like I don't
Yeah, of
think it would
course.
be impossible. Like I think you should expect every year at Worlds that the top 8 is going to be the people who have put in like a ridiculous amount of time and practice into their deck, right? Someone's not going to luck their way into top 8 at Worlds. But at regionals, I think it's much more likely that you'll see someone who's just like has good fundamental Pokemon skills who like doesn't have that much practice with their deck, rolls up, does well. And that seems to, I mean, it
Yeah,
was,
that's for sure.
we can talk about this here now, I guess, because James Kowalski, AKA All Out Blitzel, he actually put out this tweet. He got top 4 at the tournament this weekend. And he said, oh, I clicked off there we go. He posted this and said, I'm not sure how anyone denies the ladder anymore. At least 3 of the Masters top 8 were 1900 plus ELO. Henry, Summit, and myself. And then the 2 senior finals were also up there. If you want to get better at poke, play more ladder. And I don't think it's necessarily play more
Yeah.
ladder, right? Nick Moffat, I saw responding to this somewhere talking about how he thinks that like, um, let me see if I can just see it right here. Yeah, he said, "I'm still a big believer in focused self-practice, but I should probably incorporate some ladder grinding for EUIC as well." So I don't think that it's like grinding
Hold on.
ladder grinding ladder is a good thing for sure, but
Yeah.
I think that the point here should be playing more Pokemon and
Play
focused
more
practice
Pokemon.
on more
Yeah, yeah,
Pokemon is the thing to do, right? However you're doing it. And ladder just is
yeah.
a good tool that everyone has access to. And then someone like Callie White, I'm not super sure what their process looks like, but I mean, this is two pretty sick back-to-back results as well for Cali because Cali just got second place in Toronto and then got top four a month later with a different deck. Now that's something you don't really see quite
Yeah.
as often. Someone like you, we'll see. We've seen Henry go on his run with Gardevoir here in the last few months. He's committed to that archetype. He knows it super well. We've seen Brent Tonneson, make so many top cuts with Reggie Drago. Rahul has started off the season with his run with Lugia, Kieran Farah as well. It's not super common to see someone top cut back to back tournaments with two completely different decks.
Yeah, that one doesn't quite happen.
But yeah, Drago, 18% of the day one field.
Yeah,
Charizard holding
that's what we
strong
thought
at
at
12 and a
Birmingham, but
half.
then yeah, that's
Oh,
what we thought at Birmingham, right? We thought the Draco was gonna be up there at Birmingham around, like, not 8 I don't think we guessed 18, I think we were, like, 15, 16, or something like that, but it turns out, maybe not as big of fans of it in Europe, I don't even know, but still the top 2 decks are the same, and then from there, we get into, like, the 7s and the 6s, with, like, the Raging Bolt into the Gardevoir. Lugia did make a little bit of a come up, I feel like, from where it had been, and our Chaladon's still sticking around in the top 6, but I don't think it had a very good showing, which I'm not surprised by. I think the Archaladon hype is like it's like very misplaced because the deck is just not that good in this format. It gets better next format, but I feel like so many people are just like chomping at the bit to like play a new deck. I don't know.
and also Azul Dawes, the graphics guy backstage, wanted me to tell you that he made sure to get the best of the rest graphics done just for you. So we got him here for you,
Shout out,
buddy.
yeah. I like seeing these extra numbers. It's really nice to see this extra information. So yeah, shout out to Dawes on that, for sure. Now we just need uh over in Europe, they do the best of the rest. They just don't use decimals at all, so it's always a rounded up number.
Yeah, I
Now
don't
we
know why
just
they don't do
need
that.
Yeah, we just need Europe to discover decimals, and then we're locked in. They haven't quite got there yet, but they'll figure it out. But Golden Go also feels like a little bit of a surprise to me. Like this deck has been struggling recently for results, but it still is just like holding on around 5%. It's
It
just
just
it's just chilling
takes
there.
it just takes a long time for a deck to fall off, right? Like Raging Bolt
Yeah.
hasn't had great success in a long time. We did see Nathan Stratford get top 8, which we'll talk about, but um it takes a long time for a deck to totally fall out of a meta, and Golden Go had popped up to the third most popular deck, so it's going to be a
Yeah.
while before it drops back down to 2-3%.
I guess it's one of those things as well as maybe it's just like it still doesn't have terrible matchup. I mean, Charizard matchup is bad, but like you're still I think the deck is slightly favored against Drago. So like, if you keep beating Drago, it's like, well, this is the best deck. If I'm beating him, I may as well stick with my deck. But besides that, that's where it starts to struggle. And then yeah, nothing too crazy there. I guess Thorn's Dragapult did finally take a decline going into this tournament, down to 3%. Um, alongside a couple of other 3%. And yeah, there's that Palkia deck right there, 4% there. Um,
Yeah, and we
it
talked
was
about this a little
decently.
bit when we talked about this on stream, how it's like it's not a huge meta share, right? 4%, but it's like a huge increase because you have to imagine like the last few tournaments, this has been like a 1% deck, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So
So it's
four
4x,
times, that's like it's a pretty big jump, all things
definitely.
considered. And then going into day two, 21% for Drago. No surprise, it converts decently. Not like amazing, but decently. It's not like
Yeah.
uh,
What you
you know,
expect from the most popular deck, as long as it's actually good.
Charizard falls off a bit. Lugia and Gardevoir and Archaladon all pick up, and Palkia picks up a good bit.
Who did we lose here going into day 2? Who
We
fell
lost
off?
Raging Bolt
No one's worried about that. Well, lack of, or what is the word I'm looking? Oh my gosh, another one for Raging Bolt. Another just like
off
nothing
the
of
deep
value
end.
was lost. That's what I'm looking for. That's the thing I'm looking for. Oh yeah, nothing too crazy down here. Quad Thorns peeking up a little bit here. Um,
A couple
Dragapult,
quad thorns.
Dragapult Thorns made an exit. And I feel like stall. This is usually where we start to see stall pickup is going into day 2. It like makes its way on there, whether it be into the top 6 or a little bit higher up on the best of the rest. So yeah, nothing too crazy here as well.
Yep. And yeah, let's hop back to the results here and talk about the rest of cut. So we did see a couple of controls in cut, and they're both pretty different. We got James Kowalski, aka All Out Blitzel, who has been a online tournament grinder, online Andy, absolutely
Online
crushing
warrior.
absolutely crushing the online events finally getting a massive breakout run here, which I think he was definitely due for. Um, One of those players who like hard forces control every event, like um, Sander or like Alessandro, right?
Yeah.
Players who you know when you play against them, they're going to be playing some iteration of a control deck, most likely. Um, so yeah, it is just kind of a perfect storm of like a good list, hit good matchups, I'm sure, and stuff like that, and ends up having a good run here with control, and then we can just look at Grant Manley's list as well because we can talk about how these lists are pretty widely different.
Yeah, one thing I will say with Blitzel as well is, yeah, it's definitely cool to see him like get this big finish. It's like one of those things where it's like definitely very skilled player in the game, just kind of a matter of time. But it was cool to like me and like my stream were like all rooting for him throughout the tournament. We were rooting for him to get on stream and stuff like that. So we were just, it was cool to have like someone in the space, to kind of root for as like, because he is also in the space, not just as a player, but the reason he's so known is because he plays in a lot of online tournaments, but he streams them and creates content and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really cool to see him get the big finish, beat the online allegations for now. For now, but we're gonna have to see a dub at some point, Blitzel, to solidify it. So you got to work on that. But yeah, the control builds were a little bit different. Like you said, Grant basically just took Sanders' build. I don't even know how many changes he made. Do you know what the changes he made from Sanders?
He added this water Toros, which I don't even know
You
exactly what this
need
thing
you need the water
does.
Tauros, bro. Come on, man.
You may put 2 energy attached to your opponent's active stage 2 Pokemon into their hand.
Got to be for Charizard, right?
Yeah. And then he
Oh,
added a
Blitzel.
basic psychic energy and a second counter gain.
Okay. I mean, I have honestly, whenever we look at control stuff, I have no idea. It is quite a bit different from Blitzels though, like the melodic line and the toad scroll as well are probably are pretty big standouts. Um, that's a card that the chat was talking about when people were talking about like Blitzel's build, whether or not he was rocking the melodic, but did not end
Yeah.
up playing it. But we see, yeah, Grant here at it. I'm sure the melodic would have been pretty good for Blitzel going up against the guard four with double Taro, but can't
Yeah.
predict what you're gonna run into.
Yeah, and Grant actually beat Vinny Fernandez on the winning end with Melodic. But Vinny
Mm,
had Spiritomb, which is really bad for this deck because like the only way this deck works is if you set up Pidgeot. And the way you set up Pidgeot is by using your basic V abilities with Rotom and Lumineon V to get
yeah.
Pidgeot into play. So Spiritomb shutting that down is really bad. But Grant said that he like disgusting high rolled Vinny into like just still getting Candy Pidgeot turn 2, turn 3, or whatever it is, even with
Good
Spiritomb
time.
being in play.
Well, I guess that gets made up for then because I heard, Szymanski hit double heads against him,
On Silene,
with
yeah.
Silene, yeah. So, it's gotta come back to you at some point. Just happened to be the next round.
Yeah, there's actually I don't know if Grant would want me to expose this or not. But he told me this funny story about him and Vinny's. I was walking by some of the games at that point, so I was watching a little bit of his game versus Vinny. And Vinny's obviously very good, and he was playing very well into control, which you would expect. But he said like when Grant played down the melodic, Vinny picked up and just read the card, put it back, and was like, "Yeah." Grant made a comment like, "No, yep, no Turo for you." And Vinny was like, "Yeah," and just kind of looked down at the table. And then Grant was like, "Oh," and realized that Melodic stops fade out from Shuppet, or not Shuppet, from Spiritomb. Spiritomb can't
Oh.
bounce back to the hand either.
Oh, so you can break it up and trap the Spiritomb with,
Yes.
ooh, okay, there's a little bit more to that to this, in that matchup than I thought, yeah. Yeah, Monarch's really good.
Yeah.
Or That's funny.
Yeah.
And he's gotta work on his poker face, it sounds like.
Yeah, apparently, right? But yeah, Grant told me some funny stories about how he like beat this quad thorns player by they left like one iron thorns in play for some reason, and then he goes Thornton counter gains psychic energy on rated Alakazam to do 1,000,000 damage to knock it out with mind ruler to win the game.
So many options.
Yeah, yeah.
That is kinda great.
But then yeah, James list here has a different Radiant Pokemon, the Radiant Serena instead. I watched a little bit of his recap stream where he was talking about the event. He said the Serena's like good, really good against Gardevoir because you can keep them from going 120 into 160 with Screamtail on your Pidgeot, right? It messes with some of that
Yeah.
math. Um,
Oh, I guess another big thing I mentioned, they're both trolley builds, right? Like, and that's kinda
yeah.
something that it feels like was inspired. Actually, I don't know. Maybe Blitzel's been doing that for a while, but I didn't see that until Sander did it at Birmingham.
And when I interviewed Blitzel, he said that he gave props to Sander for the trolley
Oh,
and
okay.
said that trolley just opens up a lot of plays for the deck, a lot of options or something.
So Sander's still the godfather of control then?
No one's
You know,
taking it away from him.
yeah, I think you gotta still get yeah, Sander still gets that title for now. Both players, both control players, giving some props to Sander going into this one, or with the list that they ended up playing.
Yeah. But yep, it's just good old control there. I had another Gardevoir player in top cut, Neos right here. Similar build, it looks like to Henry
Yeah, just had the unfair
as
instead
opposed to
of
the
the
box.
yeah, as opposed to the secret box. But yeah, the Mawile cheese is available. No Klefki from either player, actually. The Klefki is absent from these builds. Usually an include in most Guardies, I feel like, as of late, but either player rock on the key.
We had Joshua Wallace in top 8 here, and this was kind of a cool story because we had him on stream day 1 where he beat Kieran Farah, obviously very good player,
Yeah,
and then that propelled him into his first ever day 2, which propelled him into his first ever top cut, so that's pretty cool.
that's a pretty good first right there.
Yep.
Yeah, and pretty stock Charizard, the 4 Nest Ball, the 4 Buddy Poffin. Bro, I don't even know, like, sometimes I saw it was funny in the set against Kieran. I mean, I've in the past thought Lugia should go second against Charizard for sure, but now these Charizard decks, man, the 4 Nest, 4 Poffin, like, they're just, like, not really ever having a slow turn 1, it feels like. But, yeah, I'm still not sure that the Charizard builds obviously change moving forward, but, yeah, the way the Charizard deck has, like, ended up at the end of this format, it's just the deck feels so good going first now.
Nathan Stratford here with the top 8 finish with Raging Bolt.
Nothing crazy. 3 Bravery Charm. Did play boss. Does have the boss in there.
Yep, he's got
Um,
no Mimikyu answer.
yeah, and I think
So
that's what did him in, right?
yeah, he lost to Blitzel in cut,
It's actually
and Blitzel talked about their stream games because he said he put the Mimikyu in play game 1, and Stratford conceded, and then he donked Blitzel game 2. I was like, "Bro, why did
oh,
this guy concede game 1? You gotta force him to play it out in top cuts."
yeah. Oh, no, that wasn't their that was their oh, that was in Top Cut?
That's what he said. That was in top 8.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you always make the control player play it out for sure. Like, make them beat you for sure. I
Yeah.
heard that the one thing that's weird is I heard that Nathan and Whistle ID'd in day 1, but now it makes way more sense why they ID'd. At first, I was super confused. I was like, because someone in my chat was like, "Well, Blitzel didn't want to get donked," and I was like, "But as Nathan there, you never accept the ID." But I guess it makes sense because he doesn't play an out to mimic you, so you always accept the ID. I was
Yeah.
super confused why they tied in the round that they did, but now it makes a lot more sense because Nathan did not have an out to the mimic you, and Blitzel was fine with the extra point just to avoid getting donked. So it's a little bit more reasonable for sure. Yeah, no mimic you
I don't
out.
know,
Just
how
avoid.
likely is it to get donked, though?
And they're gonna choose second going into game 3. I don't know how many basics does the deck play. I mean, you still have to find the Mimikyu as well, but yeah, the question is how many basics does the control deck play? It's pretty unlikely, I think. I don't think it's that like because it plays a decent. Well, it's the trolley builds too. How many like what does the Pokemon search card look like? And honestly, it doesn't seem too ridiculous unreasonable.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, he's got what? 2 Nest Ball, 3 Ultra, 1 Trolley,
Or Arvin, one, 2, 3,
Seal
4, 5, 6,
Stone,
7, 8, 9,
Heavy
12.
Ball.
There's 16 basics. We're not getting donked, bro. What the heck? Why are we conceding? Cue it up. Next game. But I guess also like if there wasn't enough time for the last game, that could also be a reason to just be like, all right, fine with that. Because the only like you never win, you either tie or lose. Then like the ID does make sense on Blitzel's side. But
It
then
also
that doesn't
could
make any
so
sense on Nathan's side to ID because if you either win or tie, then you always play for the win, and then if you don't, you end up with a tie.
it looks like based on Pokédata, they played in round 9.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
So
That's
that's
the
kind
day.
of a that would be kind of an interesting spot to ID because you're not, like, guaranteed to cut
Yeah,
from, like, so what Blitzel's thought process could be, right, is he wants to put the Raging Bolt that does not have a Mimikyu answer, like, he wants them to make top cut, right? So he can maybe hit them in cut, which, of course, ends up happening.
sure.
But,
Uh,
it doesn't make
Tie's
sense
like
to do that whenever you're not guaranteed to be making cut as is, right?
yeah, tie's not super high value either because one tie you're never making cut with one tie. You would need 2 ties did make cut at this tournament, but um So yeah, another tournament where X2 was very safe in the cut, and then X1-2 actually made cut as well at this one.
And then there were a couple other Reggie Dragos in Top Cut. So there's no Reggie Dragos in top 8, but there were 2 in Top Cut. They both lost in ASIM though, Nick Moffat and Kevin Gomez.
So Drago, I mean, I think it's still there. I think it'd be hard to argue it's still not the best deck in format. But the last couple tournaments it hasn't like overly showed how to do in Birmingham. There was supposed to like a couple in cut, but it didn't go super deep.
And Brink
I feel
got
like.
top 4, right? Rune got top
Yeah,
8.
yeah. We see that again. I don't think anyone's. I don't think it's we're really. I don't think there's an argument against it being the best second format. It just didn't have as deep of a showing this time. It was, but honestly, based on how popular it was day one and day two, maybe you could say this is a little bit of a disappointing finish for Drago in the last tournament of the Surging Sparks format here.
I would say so.
Yeah, and we see this list from I would mention from Moffat, super teched out for the mirror, the bundle and the collapse stadium.
Yeah.
Bundle specifically for the mirror, collapse can be good for a couple different reasons, but I think generally it's pretty strong in the mirror match to remove liabilities.
The
That
big
can be
omission
very tricky.
here that has become like a standard thing in Drago lists is there's no canceling clone.
Is that like everyone across the board? Yeah, I noticed Moffat didn't play it. No egg as well. Thank goodness, bro. The egg was so bad.
Yeah, Rowan Stavino played this same list, and it's actually the same list he
Yeah.
played all the way back at Baltimore at the like his super. I guess after Worlds was trying to beat the mirror, right? So
Yeah.
makes sense to
Bundle
bring
of the
it back for
collapse.
this.
Yeah. What was he? What does Kevin Gomez's list look like? Do we have the
Yeah,
canceling
it
clone here?
was
There's the
much
bundle.
more standard. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then like Ian Robb played the canceling clone as well. He got top 16 or top 32, I think.
Yeah, he lost the win in it, I believe.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like there wasn't good players still playing Drago. Um,
Yeah, of
for the
course, yeah.
event, yeah, but it definitely had a underwhelming performance. Piper Lapine played it as well. But yeah, that's the top cut from San Antonio, and that is the last regionals in the format because this weekend, um, Prismatic Evolutions. I almost said Brilliant Stars. Prismatic Evolutions is
It's
in.
back, baby. Arceus V-Star, it's back again, right as it's about to leave. They're not gonna let it go.
Don't tell
Bringing him back.
Makani.
I mean, even Makani's not playing it right now, but I guess maybe,
True.
who knows, with rotation, with a reprint of it, it'll be revived. But yeah, Prismatic Evolutions.
Yes. So yeah, putting a bookmark kind of or bookend, I should say, maybe on this format. What are your kind of thoughts of it overall? Was it an enjoyable format? That we're gonna. This is like the last chance we'll get to have with some different of these archetypes, right? Because Badu changes the format quite a bit, right? Or how big of a change do you think we'll see moving forward?
Um, I mean, from what I actually have not played that much Pokemon recently, to be honest. A lot of restreams, a lot of watch parties, um, and then other stuff. And then even coming up this week, I'm traveling again to uh, go to your place to film some content. So it definitely feels fresh, I would say. Dragapult's a big deck from what I have played. Archaladon and Lugia are also bigger decks in this format. Archaladon really wasn't a deck in Surging Sparks format, kind of at the end, but like
Hmm.
it wasn't. I feel like Archaladon was like not seriously a deck at the end of the Surging Sparks format. People just decided to play it for whatever reason. But it is not now. It is a seriously decent deck going into Prismatic Evolution. So things definitely feel different, um, for sure. And I mean, I think Surging Sparks was fine. It wasn't like anything too crazy, but it didn't feel bad. I feel like there was a decent amount of evolution of the format. Would have been cool to see. I think the biggest thing maybe would have been cool to see the Palkia deck come onto the scene a little bit sooner. That could have made things a little bit more interesting. It took a while for it to kind of get there, but once it
Hmm.
got there, I feel like things did start to shake up a little bit.
Well,
It
it's
was nice to
actually
see.
I almost forgot. We do need to recap our predictions
Oh
from
yeah.
last week. First prediction was how many Terapagos decks would there be in cut? You guessed 2, I guessed 1, and you were on the money with this one, buddy.
Yes. At first,
We'll get.
I saw only one, and I was like, "Oh, I did the same thing you did. I wasn't looking for the Palkia." There was
Yep.
2.
Alex Shemansky with the Palkia build and Callie White with the straight Terapagos Pidgeot build. Next one was how many non-Americans would there be in top cuts? You said 3. And then I said 2, which ends up being correct. Kevin Gomez and Callie White, both from Canada.
See, the problem here is the original script had Vinny beating Grant, but Grant or Vinny wasn't supposed to tell Grant that Melodic stopped Spiritomb, so he was supposed to win that one pretty easily. But then it all fell apart. So yeah,
Dude,
the original script was not supposed to have Grant and cuts. It was
it's
supposed to
so
be Vinny
crazy
instead.
how far you fall when you lose a win and end.
Yeah.
Like Vinny was on a win and end to top cut, and he drops all the way down to top 64. He got 37th place, 0 cash. Like that's ridiculous.
It feels pretty bad, and I hope it doesn't get to the point where players are, like, IDing their winning into guarantee top 32 versus playing it out to try and get top 8. Because that would just, like if that feels like that hurts the competition, right? If you have players playing all the way to the out winning end, and then they're both like, "If we play it out, one of us gets nothing. Do I really wanna walk in front of this with nothing?" And then the other player's like, "I don't really wanna either. Do you wanna ID?" And they're like, "Okay, sure. Let's ID. Let's both guarantee top 32." That would feel pretty bad if it gets to that point, if players feel that way. It doesn't seem like that way so far, but I guess it's just kind of like a thought I had kind of in the moment. Bad for competition for it to be that way, I think, where players, like, consider that too heavily or too many players actually do that. We haven't seen
And
that yet, but
our last prediction, highest placing Raging Bolts. Azul said top 32, but I believed and I said top 8. Shout outs to my horse, Nathan Stratford. Top 8 finish, winning in ASIM, getting the top 8. Let's go. You'll love to see it.
not really. You don't love to see that Raging Ball making it that
Oh,
far,
dude,
bro.
hold on, hold on. I
Oh.
just realized we didn't talk about the Snorlax deck that got top 8 at all. For some reason, it got skipped over
Oh.
completely. Salmet here with the top 8 finish. We definitely got to give props to him as well because he was undefeated in Swiss, went 12-0-1, ID'd the
Yeah.
last round
It would've been
with
cool to see him.
Snorlax.
I don't even remember what he played in the last round, but it would've been cool to have seen him go with the 13-0 because we've never seen a 13-0. I don't think. No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
Um, but this has become I mean, played a pretty I guess it doesn't look standard, but pretty standard, I feel like, for what we've seen recently from Stall. Oh, no, this is like the Pokestop build. This is like a super aggressive build, actually. I take it back.
yeah, no Rotom either. It's the boxed order thing.
Yeah. Has the Klefki, so has those to like cheese the abilities, whether it be up against a Cloth deck or not. Mimikyu's one of Ogerpon. Um, yeah, boxed orders I feel like has become standard. The Pokestop's not so much. And then also has the Miracle headset in there. So you can do like a late game. You can like deck yourself out and then Miracle headset loop with Silene or something like that. I don't actually know
Mhm.
exactly how it looks at the end of the game, but yeah, basically just try and deck yourself out as soon as possible.
I don't know if you saw this post or not. Hang on. Oh, I just lost it. There we go. Sorry. Uh Summit posted after the tournament and said, I've waited a whole month to respond to this. It was me. And it's a quote retweet of who the F is playing Block Lax boxed order on live ladder on Christmas. Like, come on, man. And it was Summit.
That's so good, man. And it's got a good the Elmo burning emo or gif or whatever is there as well.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Excellent, excellent post.
On Christmas of all things. Can you believe it?
But yeah, sick run. And Summit as well, someone who's like a TCG live grinder, like up there 1900 plus ELO. So yeah, hard work pays off.